Hi guys, and welcome to DIY Hair School. And on today's video, I'm going to show you how to get this amazing full wavy hair that you can do really fast and really easy all on your own. What you're going to need for this style today is your flat iron and a hair clip. Hair clip is really important when you're doing any curls or heat styles because you want to be able to section the hair. And for this one, it definitely is important to section the hair. So a hair clip, these gator clips are my favorite because they're super tight. So they hold the hair super easily. Even if you have really smooth, thin, fine hair that things slip easy, these will grab and hold anything, even a very small bit of hair or a huge chunk of hair. They've got the teeth. You can just use a clip like this as well. But they will tend to have a harder time holding smaller sections of hair and things like that. So these guys are great. You can usually find them even at the dollar store, Marshall's, Amazon. I have some linked in my Amazon storefront if you want to grab them there. And usually a pack of 4 of these will last me ages before eventually the spring inside will kind of go. But they last forever and they are super good at holding any hair type up and out of the way. So we're going to start with the bottom section of our hair. So I am just going from the top of my ears back, and everything below that that's left is going to be my bottom section. So I'm just going to scoop all the rest of my hair up and out of the way. Now I'm going to show you doing this from the front, not from the back, because when I'm watching myself in the mirror, I'm not looking at the back of my head. I'm literally doing it like I'm going to show you here today, where I pull everything forward over my shoulders and I do my heat style. I don't, watch from the back. So it is easier, in my opinion, for you to emulate this if you just watch from the front. Now I would suggest that you take the motion that I'm going to teach you with the flat iron and you do practice it before you turn the heat on. It's always good to practice the motion on your hair with the cold flat iron before you have to worry about the heat burning your hair, and just get used to the motion before you start trying to create the style. And that way you don't worry about burning your hair. You absolutely can get a 3-barreled waver to do this style. Those make it a lot easier. They're usually relatively inexpensive. I do have one of those as well linked in my Amazon storefront. I do actually prefer it this way because I do find a 3-barreled waver gives you a bit of a deeper wave for the most part, and the wave that I do with the flat iron is a tiny bit softer, and I feel like it looks a little bit more natural, less like it's been done by a 3-barreled waver and more like it could be natural waves in your hair. So it is my preference to do it with the flat iron, but if you find it absolutely impossible and you still want to get a style similar to this, you could use a 3-barreled waver. So we're going to take the first section, and you don't want them too wide. You definitely don't want the section wider than the plate of your flat iron, or that is going to give you some problems. You're going to have hair sliding out. If you find that you have a hard time keeping your hair from sliding out of the plates, then go for a more narrow section. It'll just take you longer because you'll have to do more sections of hair. And you also don't want your sections too thick. They don't have to be super thin, but you can almost see through that section. You wouldn't be able to read the newspaper through it or anything, but it's certainly not super, super thick. The problem with taking a really thick section is that it will take more time. You'll have to go slower because you need to make sure the heat gets through all the layers of the hair. So it's just a little bit easier if you have a thinner section to control the heat distribution on the hair, and you're less likely to end up with spots that fall out really easily or that just don't wave properly in the first place. So now we're going to take our flat iron and we're going to be holding it horizontally right across the section of hair. So just like this. It's not angled up or down. Some sections I definitely end up on a bit of an angle and I don't worry about it too much, but the goal is to try to be as flat, horizontal as possible. And then what we're going to do is we're going to close our flat iron and we're going to push down, and then we're going to scoop up, and then we're going to push down and we're going to scoop up, and that's what's going to create that S-shape wave. So let's go. So I'm going to close and I'm going to scoop down, and then I'm going to push up, and then I'm going to scoop down, and I'm going to push up, and the last bit there. And this is what you end up with. Now you'll see that I did hold on to the end of the hair because what's really important is you want lots of tension. So as you're doing it, you want to make sure that you can feel your flat iron pulling the hair down and pulling the hair up. So if you just left it loose, it's really hard to do that. You're just kind of like, so you want to hold on to that hair so it's nice and tight when you grip and you push down. And I can feel the flat iron pulling my hair down, and I can feel the flat iron pulling my hair. Tension is really important. You also want to make sure you're squeezing that flat iron nice and tight between the plates so you're getting that really even heat distribution. Now we've got this one section left in the back. I am just going to separate that into two little sections and one over each shoulder, and we'll just do those. You want to try and not fuss with the pieces too much. While they're still hot, you just want to do your thing with the flat iron and then leave them alone. And now this look is definitely more of like a soft, messier look. And I love it for that because you really don't have to be perfect in each piece. It's not like you're looking for perfect, beautiful ringlets. This is just sort of like a beachy, wavy look. I always like to start with a down. That's just how I always do it. I always go down first. I'm not even honestly sure if I've ever tried the other way, but I always love how this turns out. So I've never tried, I wouldn't try the other way. You could try the other way if you find it easier, but I think the reason I like the down first before I scoop up is because then you're just creating that little bump of volume near your roots. And as someone with really fine flat hair, I really appreciate any little bump of volume that I can get. Now, one thing you'll notice I just did with the last section, and I'm going to do again here, is to brush it. So I can feel with my hands as I'm grabbing these sections that they're a bit tangled from being twisted up. And it's really important for the best results to make sure that section is fully smooth and brushed out before you go in with your flat iron. One tip to make sure you don't miss any sections is as I do sections, I pull them over my shoulders and I leave everything sitting forward. Obviously, if your hair's not long enough for that, that's a little bit challenging and you're just gonna have to work with it. But as long as your hair's long enough to come over your shoulders, every time I'm done a section, I gently place it over my shoulders and I leave the rest of the back hanging down. And that just makes it a little easier to kind of separate and determine what has been done and what hasn't been done yet. Once you've done all the sections and you've waited for it to completely cool and there's no more warmth coming off that hair, then you can shake it out lightly. And you just use your fingers and just kind of finger comb it. You want to avoid brushing it with a brush because that's going to pull out more of the waves than you want. But there we go. It just gives you that really nice, wavy, effortless, beachy, and it just adds so much fullness to your otherwise super flat and fine hair. So I hope that helps and it gives you another way to style your hair that's not just basic curls. I do also find most people find this technique easier than curls if you do struggle with curls, but it still gives you that same satisfying volume and texture. And this is a great base for a lot of different styles. It makes some super cute half up styles and it just makes them look so much more done because your hair has texture and it's not just flat to your head. So play around with this, see how it works for you, and you can always use some product. I did have some Stronghold mousse in my hair when I blow dried it today. Other than that, I didn't put anything else in, but you could finish off with some dry texture spray or some dry texture powder puff, and that will help to hold the volume and the curls. If you have hard time keeping texture in your hair, but you really don't need the product for volume when you do this, because just this style on its own, because of the nature of the waves and how the hair stacks on top of itself, it actually stays super voluminous on its own. And as long as you don't lose the texture, you're not going to lose the volume. So thanks so much for watching today, guys. Like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my content, because I do post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and daily on my shorts and on my TikTok and Instagram at DIY Hair School. Bye, guys.